Right, hello everyone, and I apologize for the quality of the audio. My mic is for some reason just not working, out of the blue, no reason. Um, so I'm having to do it ye old-fashioned way, and that is just using the the computer. So in my previous video, I talked about my concerns and potential problems for Restore Britain coming up. I had some, uh, quite a bit of feedback on that, and some weren't very happy with my criticisms, and I don't really care, quite frankly. There were quite, I think there was a few reform type people as well. One lefty sort of made his way on there, so um, yeah, that's that really. So I've said my piece on that matter, and apparently, it's completely mad to claim that to have suspicion on someone who was a you know paid trip to a certain country in the Middle East. That's just weird for me to point that out. Apparently, so um, anyway, I thought this video would be a helpful guide in local politics. So from what I understand, this Restore Britain has been going for a week now. Rupert and Charlie and a few others, I think Kit Harrington as well. They who've been around sort of the you public face of this have been asked multiple questions, and I've seen in interviews the one is how to get involved. Like, what's the structure of the party going to be on the local level? Obviously, they will have local branches, but how is that going to be? Is it going to be um, in constituencies, which is how it traditionally goes? Will they maybe do regional ones? Like, how's it going to work out? So, and the response has been, because obviously for them it's early days. They're sort of you um, you know planning it now as they go. Maybe it should have done a bit of planning beforehand, but that's by the by. There seems to be, what, 80,000 apparently people who signed up. Now, if I'm being honest, if it's 80,000, I would say probably less than 10,000 would get actively involved in, if I'm just being realistic here, less than 10,000 will probably be involved in the local politics. But that's okay, because that's still enough for Great Britain, Northern Ireland to contend with. So if uh, the way that Rupert and the others have said is they welcome those who, if they can organise in their wherever they are in the country, to form their own branches, um, or maybe then they would merge into a different branch. I don't know. There's a complete there's no clarity on that point. But if you're watching this and there's already a branch set up which you're getting involved with, or you want to set up a branch yourself and then contact, Restore Britain. Um, this is a quick guide for this is local politics. Now, I'm not talking about the national politics. I'm not talking about all the sort of you know crap that no one we can't control on the national level. This is going to be on the local level, and how to garner some recognition, name recognition, and also how to effectively manage one's time. That's one thing that's very important in local politics, is managing time and managing expectations more than anything else. uh, so we'll begin, and I've got a I recommend anyone who is looking to get involved in this uh, visit the Electoral Calculus website. Now, it is a website that has information on previous elections, but also the most important thing is, if I can bring it up here, it has a detailed data map. So if you go Electoral Calculus, go over to the data maps, and you'll find this here. Now, when I was in the Conservative Party many, many years ago, we had this app called Vote Source, which allowed us to access um, information, publicly, obtained information through surveys, through election trends, and the census, the previous census at the time, to find out information on certain wards, which on the council level, but also on like like a particular street, estate, what have you, and actually find the sort of various background information to people living there, and whether or not like targeting for uh, campaigning. So for me, that was quite useful because you could, when you're campaigning, it's about knowing your constituency. The amount, whether it be a constituency or ward, the amount of times I've seen councillors who actually don't know the boundaries of their own ward or constituency or area, fortunately, is quite common, and you end up having these sort of clueless types who will, well, inevitably um, mess up when it comes to boundary and campaigning and accidentally go into a neighbouring one, and it will have no benefit for them, and it does happen. So I would say on the first point is know your constituency, know your ward, know your local area. Again, boundary maps like this map here. If I just zoom in here, let's pick the Brecons, for example. So this is the constituency here. Oh, sec. It's a Lib Dem one, and here is a map which gives you the detail of the boundary. So here's the boundary with England and Wales. I mean, this is quite an easy one, but it's just like if you were, say, in uh, Crickhowell, for example, you could be campaigning down here, and then you would know, oh, not to, pass beyond this point because that sort of stuff. So the boundaries, or more relevant for Wales, this. So down here, you would know, oh, Pontifichin, or whatever the stupid name is called. Not to go beyond into this neighbouring constituency here because this wouldn't be your area. Point one. On point two, you have to look at the demographics and voting patterns. Now, in this particular one here, this is let's go to Great Yarmouth, for example. Go to Rupert Lowe's seat. So in Great Yarmouth here, let's look at, and there's a filter option on the side here. You can look at various different categories to filter out things, so tribe, economic, national, social, EU referendum, average age, homo, the usual stuff, even Christian, like, and British, white English. So let's look at the ethnic thing. So ethnically white. Okay, so that's medium. Uh, so there, so, and it goes up here. This is the keys here. So red is very low. Then you got sort of a lighter red, which is low, amber for medium, and then green for high, and then dark green for very high. So North Norfolk, very high. You look down in London, of course, very red. Okay, so that's we know that. Now, if you zoom into the ward, to the ward on the ward level, let's have a deeper look here. Okay, so ethnically white. Okay, so let's say you are Restore in Great Yarmouth and you're campaigning. You can identify, okay, these are the wards which are our targets. Now, I would say these bits is probably where you've had recent relative new arrivals and are foreign nationals. And this is all goes on to point 3 on targeting wards. If I just zoom out here, yeah. And then as you get down here, you got amber. So if Rupert says to you were a volunteer, I want you to go out campaigning. So around this area of Caston-on-Sea, you would campaign here. It's majority will be able to vote, or will be able to vote in local elections. Foreign nationals can vote, so that's that's an unfortunate thing, but that's way it is. But you would be campaigning around these areas and also in the outlining sort of more rural areas as well. This will be Rupert's bread and butter. Now, as well as in Greater Yarmouth itself, round here, again, you can see the green areas where you focus. Now, this is where you get a bit more ruthless. In the amber areas, round here particularly, I would estimate, and this is where you go on uh, national. So this is on attitudes, right? Global. So this is like ultimate global homo, globalist, sensible centrist, sensible centrist, national and very national. Now, the the greater the diversity area you see here, the more national people is, and this is a common trend across the country. Now, in an election time, this is the area that you would blitz. You would blitz it particularly because where you have a higher chance, and if let me go back to ethnically white, you have amber and green. So obviously, there's a high British, there's like a medium to high British English population in this particular area, but they're very nationalistic, so they are more likely to vote for Restore Britain with those attitudes. Now, if we go down here to the white population here is low, particularly around this area. Now, if we look at national, again, it's a bit nationalist pockets, but again, it's actually quite, it's sort of national leaning to centrist. This, I would say, looking at it, is a clear indication that in this scenario of Great Yarmouth, there is a high percentage of foreign-born population, relatively new arrivals, or those that have moved maybe from out of London or something, ethnic minorities who've moved into this area. And so in this, you would say in the campaigning stuff, we would avoid, let me get back to this. You would avoid all this red area. You would maybe do a couple leafleting runs, a couple bit, but you would avoid it because you would say, number one, they ain't going to vote for you, and number two, there's a good chance most of them can't vote, even if they, and if they can vote, there's a good chance they probably won't vote anyway, or they won't vote for you. So you wouldn't even bother with this area here. Okay, and same applies. Again, look at the area here. There's a low British, white, ethnically white population down here. Let's go to national, and again, here you go. So this is quite unique in some ways because this is very, very nationalistic. So this is basically um, immigrants out, yeah, sort of attitude. And I'm looking at the 2023 ward particularly because that has better detail. That has like greater detail on the smaller wards than you get more recently, but it still applies. It's still the same constituency area. It's still the same area. So there's that as well. During your time campaigning, you will also come across what we'd be called, members of the public who would approach you and want to ask questions. Now, some may be interested, some might want to know more. There'll be some there that would just want to have a good conversation because they agree with it, and then you'll have some who disagree with you. Most of them that disagree won't want to engage with you. You may have abuse or something chucked at you or something like that. Unfortunately, well, we all know, right? And then there are some that will just want to argue with you to basically make you look stupid. They'll want you to make look like the fool. They'll want to try and own you, own the thick right sort of stuff. They may even get a phone out to start recording, or get a friend of theirs to record, or whatever. Um, in that scenario, the ultimate rule is, again, you ain't get no, not everyone's going to vote for you. You walk away. You know, if people are wanting to engage, you can engage. Personally, I don't. I never did, because on that level, it is a complete and utter waste of time, especially when there's someone there who has, made up their mind already. There's nothing you can do to change that. So, so that's sort of uh, that's point four. Point five, leaflets and lettering. So one method we did was throughout the year, even before build-up elections, you would have rounds of leafleting, then followed up by a letter from the MP. So again, you would have leafleting from the party, and then a letter followed up by Rupert Lowe. In this scenario, be Rupert Lowe, um, around talking about what needs to be done, maybe on a local level, if he's helping out with the local party in the build up to election, or what he's done in Parliament, or what have you, just to keep everyone informed. Now, part six is, again, important build up to the elections, is organising meetings, and particularly in village town halls. Now, this will be tricky, because you'll have the usual types that will try and interrupt, and you'll have, interruptions. But I think in certain cases you've been able to organise, maybe a meeting of, like, bin collecting, or pothole, like a pothole awareness local society, monitoring potholes, or whatever it is, or like the high level of seagulls in Greater Yarmouth, or whatever. But as long as it brings people together, organises them in regular meetings, that's how you, again, as a local party, you sort of build its profile on the local level. Charity groups. Now, Rupert donates a lot of his money to charity. Hosting charity events in Great Yarmouth is a good way. Getting involved with local charitable causes, and sort of, again, getting involved with that never hurts anything, to be honest, and is very good, particularly between elections. Keeps, it's good publicity. Local paper will cover it. You may even get mentioned on the local radio as well, or something like that. Always good to go for. Now, part nine is seek support from local businesses like pubs, shops, and other smaller companies. So this one is sometimes become quite difficult. So within the Conservative Party, that was already established. We had, you know, a set of local businesses. I remember there was one chap who was helping me years and years ago when I was doing my run, who owned a pub, and so that became like an unofficial meeting place. But also, he was able to put his leaflets and election promotional signs in and around his pub, and that was, like anything, that's a massive help. And so for Lowe, I mean, on in Greater Yarmouth, Lowe is a businessman himself. He has, he's a incredibly wealthy chap. But even still, it is worth finding local companies, looking at local businesses which have been friendly towards Lowe in the area, and sort of building up a rapport with them, and just, seeing if they're able to help out as well. Maybe get them involved with the local party. There usually is some sort of trade off there that would need to, that someone would want, for support. And this, the other one, is know your opponent. So in um when I was running in an area which was relatively, safe, conservative, maybe with a followed up of Lib Dem. Okay. But let's uh let's see here if I can. Right. So I brought up tribal voting area. So you see here, um sort of the sort of attitude of the people here again. centre right. This is in, let's see, wards and more up to date. So in a local area, even when the overwhelming majority, like in Rupert Lowe's constituency, have some sort of right to centre right leaning, or even centrist, there's very few left wing progressive, um, you know, but mainly centre to um, right wing attitudes on here. Bearing in mind this is the standard set by the British state, so probably, yeah, this, let's just say this is centre right. You will still have, even in the most like ardent traditionalist communities, um, opponents in progressive and left wing stuff. So this would be, for one instance, that I've come across, unions. You'll have people in local unions who will be involved with the local Labour Party, and particularly in places they know they can't win or will struggle to win, and they will build up uh, a union representation there. You also have the, and this is an unfortunate one because it's something I think the right should be going after more often, is the liberal arts. You'll find local art centres and community hubs and stuff that are sort of based in the artistic world, will have individuals who are very much loyal to progressive ideas, maybe to Labour, Green Party, even Liberal Democrats, depending. I remember one particular art centre where, near myself, where they were having workshops in tactical voting to keep at the last general election, the evil fascist reform for reform and Tories out. Now, again, if Restore has this breakthrough, and you'll find, and if you're watching this and you're sort of planning your local branch and you have some breakthrough, you will have, similar attacks, and you may even have, local papers which will present themselves as neutral and non-partisan. I will tell you now, they are partisan, and they are very partisan because they're partisan because the left are more organised than the right by a mile, but by a wide berth, even in the most, quote unquote right wing seats. I mean, what do you think it'd be like in a Labour stronghold? You know, so with all that being said, it's sort of part 10 of this is know your opponent. One also thing is communication in that. I talked about the charities and the arts centres and what have you, unions. A lot of areas, particularly if you're a Facebook user, or if your parents are Facebook users, know that they have like local Facebook groups for the local state, village, what have you. A few of them are also run by the very same like progressive, maybe even Labour types, because again, going back, the left have had in the past strong presence on social media, and again, they're good at organising. So even the seamlessly neutral online Facebook community group, which has, a couple thousand or 10,000 members and very popular and stuff, and it'll be the innocuous things like those particular pages will be there to, find someone's lost cat, or if someone dropped a credit card in town, or something like that. But I've few of them that I have known have been run by Labour activists, Green activists who are very progressive and use it as a way, and have used it particularly during the EU referendum, which I will say used it to silence any sort of view on leave. Very much in favour of Remain. Um, and you know, 11, have fun. Part 11 of it is fun. I mean, there is no part 11, so this is my fun part. But I would say, if you're looking to set up a ward, sorry, or I guess a branch office, this is the way, 'cause it's not just Great Yarmouth. You can look at I mean, let's look at, let's see here. If you wanted to set one up in Romford, for example, again, you know, same things apply. You wouldn't campaign in these areas because they're not going to vote here. This is about time effectiveness because Restore is a new party. It doesn't have the foundation, the resources like the others do. But the information that's available at hand for you, the viewer who's watching this, you can uh, find that information quickly and plan accordingly. And that is key. I mean, that's a whole constituency there. In okay, so we know now in central Romford here, no no point campaigning there. You can campaign up here, on the side, in the centre, no. There you go. Romford branch, you were sorted. Um, there we go. Same with yeah, and it overlaps. You'll notice you look at this economic stuff, right wing view, left wing view, tribalistic, social, very liberal, ethnically white. Yeah, here you go. Now, it what when it comes down to this, you do have to look at again here. Now, you have to look at all aspects of it to find the best areas. Now, if you're limited to certain wards, you would have to be even more ruthless and say there's like okay, like this one here, Havering, there's hardly any white people there. You campaign here, down below here, further south, you campaign there, but you would avoid that area. So you can even be even more ruthless than what I want here. Same with out here. You would avoid this area, this sort of rural patch here, which has a very high non-white bit, which is a bit odd. Um, but you would act accordingly in that. So that is that. It's the whole of Great Britain, Northern Ireland. So you can have a look. And until then, I will see you all later.